Okay, we're back now, and let's make some decisions on the hat. Since I've got plenty of material up here, and most traditional Santas, I think, have a top hat, let's do a top hat on this guy. So in order to do that, we're going to come down a little bit on this scarf, about 1/4 of an inch from where I've got it ending now. So I'll bring that down just about 1/4 of an inch, and that will give me 3/4 of an inch from this line to the brim of the hat. The hat will be about 1/8 of an inch, and that will then leave me 3/4 of an inch for the top hat. So we're going to do the top hat first, because when I carve that brim out, I want to have the hat formed and then the face formed. While I'm forming the face, that brim will come out. If I carve the face out now and then try to do the brim, there's a good chance that I'll break it. So if we look at our circle that we put on at the beginning, that's going to be the circumference of the top hat. I've got plenty of meat right here. Let me get my thumb guard back on. I've got plenty of meat right here for the brim and the face, so I'm going to go to the top of this line. Again, from there to this transition of the scarf, I've got 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to go to that 3/4 of an inch mark and start working down toward the center of that top hat. Doing my stop cuts again, and my pull cut down to the stop cut. At this point, you could do just a knit cap. You could do a cowboy hat. You could do just about whatever you want. And we're going to try to make this a traditional Santa. When I get them done, I'll actually show them to you at the beginning of the class before we even start the class. So I'm just going to take these nubs, corners off, working down toward that middle. Got a long ways to go. So same thing, do me a stop cut, working my way around. I'll just do that all the way around while I'm here. Kind of a little rocking cut there, and I'll be able to bring this right down to that brim. Don't bring it down with a lot of force, even though you got a stop cut there, even though you got a lot of material there. You don't want to cut into that brim, because we want to save as much of that brim as we can so that we can have more material for the face. And we'll put that face in before we start cutting on that scarf, because proportionally it may work out that we don't have to cut that scarf down any. But the scarf is plenty wide enough that if we need to cut down to make room for that face, we can. If you decide you want a bigger circumference of the top hat, you can always adjust that to however you want it. But right now, we'll start working our way down to that circle. Kind of do a sweep cut inward toward the center of that hat. Plenty of material there. Let's go ahead and do our stop cut. Rock that around the edge of that brim, taking it around a little further. Same thing here. Bring that down. That's rounding that hat as we go and creating the brim of the hat simultaneously. All I'm doing is along that line where that brim was drawn in early at the beginning of the carving, I'm still using that same line, and I'm doing a little rock cut along it, creating a stop cut for my knife to stop up against. We're working it down, getting closer to that line. Coming down here and doing a sweep cut up, kind of at the edge of that brim. Tapering that hat up, trying to make it as round as I can. Now if you wanted to lean that hat forward or lean it backwards, you just take more or less. If I wanted to lean that hat back, I would take more off this front using this cross here on the top where I did the center lines early on. I'd use that as a point of reference. But I'm going to have the hat pretty well set and flat on his head. Go back down to that stop cut and chip that away. Making sure I'm going to have plenty of brim. You see why I left that face now. If I was doing all this hogging with that face wood cut out of there, there's a good chance I'd be gluing that brim back on or changing the hat style. And I'm speaking from experience there. I've broken many a brim off a hat. Okay, now let's trim. I'm going to clean up some of this where I was hogging that wood out. Make the top of that brim, give a little sweep to it. Taking out some of this excess material from the side. That sweep cut, if you can see that, I'm taking that along the edge of that brim. Now, we're just now at the 1 hour mark and my knife is still plenty sharp. If you're finding that you're tearing your wood or your knife's not cutting in there very smoothly, you might want to go ahead and strop your knife a little bit. My general rule of thumb, unless I'm carving some really hard wood, is for every 2 hours of carving I do 10 to 20 strops on my strap to get my knife sharp. Okay, got that generally roughed in, liking the way it's looking. Now, there are guys that use micrometers and check the bottom dimension of that hat to the top dimension. I'm just not that precise. You could also do that measuring out how much brim we've got hanging off right here. I'm going to cut some of this brim off, obviously, when I get around it. Okay. Now, let's figure out what we're going to do with this face. I think I'm going to take and do a sweep cut down here and start freeing up some of this wood where the face would be. I'll make sure you can see what I'm doing there. I'm just rolling my knife, not putting a lot of pressure on the underside of that brim because I don't want to cut it off. I don't want it to break. So I'm just trying to round that face, and I want to leave about 1/8 of an inch for the brim. So I'm going to do a little bit of a stop cut here. Come up to it and just gently snap that out. And proportionally, we'll see how much face we've got left on this snowman, because part of it, his eyes, you might want kind of looking like they're up under this hat. Gentle cuts up to that brim. Again, I can take more material off that brim, but I want to wait until I get it kind of roughed out. I'm spinning this carving in my hand 360 degrees as I'm taking this head down, and that keeps me proportionally correct. Now, if we were using something other than a knife, this would be a great place to use a gouge or a skew. But a lot of you guys haven't had classes on those yet, or you haven't ever experienced them. So nothing more frustrating for me to watch a class and they're talking about using a tool and I not have that tool. Never used that tool, never even heard of that tool. But if you've got them and you want to use them, feel free. Now I want to get this up close so you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to leave plenty of material for this hat. I've got to round those corners off, but I'm going to save that for later. Now I'm working underneath here, doing a sweeping cut like this. I'm turning that blade in my hand, trying to bring that head down evenly and taking material off from under that hat without putting a lot of pressure on that brim, because I don't want to break that brim off. Just take your time. And I'm turning this Santa between my fingers as I turn it. I called him a Santa. It's actually a snowman. For years, literally years, all I carved was Santa Clauses because I was in the comfort zone of a Santa Claus. And I made up my mind at the beginning of this year I was going to branch out and just carve everything. I've carved bears and dogs and donkeys and people and hands and feet and texture and clothing. It's that deliberate practice that I've been stepping out to. So don't be afraid to try something new is my point. And if you hear me say Santa Claus a lot, it's because that's used to be all I teach people to carve. Okay, I'm going to take the front of this scarf down a little bit. I'm going to need more face. Now I'm going to have another 1/4 of an inch of face that I'm going to gain when I start putting that brim in there. Maybe 1/8 to 1/4. So I'm going to bring this scarf down, start rolling that around, because I'm going to need a good 1/2 inch for my face. 3/4 would be perfect. So I put a little line on my scarf. I'm doing that roll cut again. Don't want to go too deep on this plane because I need to create that bottom side of that snow mound for that face. And the good news is that snow mound's pretty small. If you got a V tool and you want to go around where I'm doing this with my knife and gently scribe that line with your V tool, have at it, brother. The rest of us, we're going to use our knife. Why? Because you can carve anything with your knife. And now I'm going to come straight down, start cleaning that out, making that look like the lower part of the face. Okay, got to make sure I keep in the video. Hopefully I had that in the video the whole time I was rounding that. I'll show you again what I'm doing here. Rounding that face down, stealing more material from that scarf so I can look like I have more face for the head. More snow. I think we're going to have plenty. Right down to that scarf. Again, when it's hitting, I'm turning my knife a little. You see how that's looking like flower petals rolling out there. Now, I'll tell you at the beginning of the class, instead of using a 4-inch block, I'm going to recommend you use a 4.5-inch block. That gives you a 1/2 inch to play with on this top side in case you're off a little bit on one of your measurements. you won't have to do a lot of this cleanup that I'm doing here or adjusting. I might just carve another one and not even use this video, we'll see. These are fun little projects to carve. And if you carved your box, ball, finger in the 101 class, you'll see a lot of similarities to what we're doing here when you did your ball and also when you did your finger. If you skip that class, then you might be struggling a little bit. And it might be better to put this piece of wood down, go watch the 101 class first, and then come back to this. Oh, this is looking sweet. Old Jack Frost, old Saint, no, what's that? Corn cob pipe, and a button nose. Frosty, yeah, Frosty the Snowman, that's what it was. I'm not a singer, so I'm not going to sing it for you. And if you wanted to carve a corn cob pipe and put it in his mouth, you could. I'm not a smoker, I'm not an advocate of smoking. I gave that nasty habit up a long time ago. And I'm not even going to do anything to give a child the thought of putting that in their lungs or in their mouth. If you're a smoker, so be it. I just gave it up. Long time ago. I quit smoking and drinking at the same time. Started going to church, got married, and started having children, and thought I better straighten my act up. Some people say I still got a lot of straightening to do, but I don't miss the smoking and drinking and other things. Okay, look at it. Starting to look like something. We got some cleaning up to do here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do a little sweep cut straight in. And that's going to form our stop cut so we can come up from the bottom. Oh, how badly I want to use a V-tool here, but I'm not going to. And I want to scoop some material out from under the brim of this hat, looking like that face is going up and under it. Is that a colloquial thing, up and under? Or is that a regional, or does everyone say up and under? You can put in the comments if you want to. Do you use that term in your neck of the woods? If you don't, if it's new to you, tell me where your neck of the woods is. I don't know how many people are actually watching this. We had over 2,000 people sign up for it or say that they're going to watch it. And there's no way I can really tell, I don't think. Well, maybe I can. It's all kind of new to me. Looking at putting these on YouTube as well. I do whatever my grandkids and my daughter knows how to do. This is not my forte. I make the chips fly and they figure out where to post this stuff. If you have a preference on where you'd like to see it at, that's definitely something you ought to put in the comments so that we build these classes around what you want. I do them live here in town, do them in person on Thursdays. But I know everybody can't come to that. We're also going to offer more classes. Some that are a little more complicated, some that will offer rough outs so that you don't have to spend so much time hogging wood out. There's some traditionalists out there that say blasphemy. Rough outs isn't carving. Well, you're moving wood. You just don't have to do all the hogging out. You paid someone else to do that for you. Now you get the joy of doing the detail work and learning how to refine those fine motor skills with your knife. So we won't get into that philosophical argument here. It gets too close to politics. And I don't get involved with politics. Not until election time, and then I go vote for whatever candidate I think best reflects my views. Oh, I'm starting to like the way he's looking. It's just these little slices at a time. Can you see how I'm doing that? Just taking that knife, rolling that, and if you've got, this is I think the 1 3/8 blade. If you got 2-inch blade, you got plenty of knife there. I don't use the 2-inch, it's a little bit longer than I like. I like the 1 3/8, I like the 1 5/8. I do have a couple 3-inch blades, but they pretty much stay in the drawer. I don't use them very often. Okay. We are so darn close. We got some cleanup work to do. I'm gonna round this hat off, and then I'm gonna show you how I do my cleanup, and then let you finish your own. So, there he is. That's his scarf. That's his hat. I can take more material off his hat. Now, when you do that, you want to watch the circumference of the head versus the circumference of the hat and make sure that there's symmetry there. You don't want one real tiny and one real big. Then it looks like, what do you got going on there? Some people will carve the head and then carve the hat separately and put it on there. I've never tried that. I have broken hats and had to fix them, but I've never carved the hat separately. I've got a couple good friends that do it that way, but I'm not one of them. Okay, I think I got it about where I want it. Yep, got about where I want it. Now look at what we got to do. We're going to round these corners of this hat off a little bit. I'm just going to kind of pencil in where I think that roundness would go. Now, this is an old hat on Santa. It shouldn't look like a new one. So if you wanted to cut a little nicks in it, you could. If you wanted to have this be flopping and hanging down, you could. You do what you're comfortable doing. I'm just going to round these. Try to turn that so you can see what I'm doing on that camera. Rounding that off. Same thing here, back this way. And take little slices, because you don't know if you're going to hit a knot or a grain change, and you don't want to break that whole brim out. And I can even take that brim down a little thinner, but I'm going to get it kind of where I want it before I do that. When you go into the detail aspects of your carving, that knife, if you're leery at all that it's sharp, go ahead and hit it some licks, because you don't want, when you start doing this detail work, you don't want that blade to cause friction and break. So, let me go ahead and hit mine a couple licks. For those of you that have seen the sharpening video, I put light pressure down, keeping that blade flat. 1, turn it, 2, turn it, 3, turn it, 4. Now that's one way to do it, or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 plus the 4, I got 10 there. Turn it over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives me 10. That's my homemade strop, leather with my compound on there. Don't send me a bunch of questions asking about the leather, the compound. I got a separate video on that. Go watch that and you can learn about how to sharpen your knife if you've never watched that video. Oh, you can ask me questions, but I'm just going to send you the link to the video, or you can go right to the link on my home page. So that blade was getting a little dull. It's cutting a lot smoother now. So, but we've hogged out a lot of wood. Normally when I'm carving for 1 or 2 hours, I'm carving, setting it down, talking to someone, picking it back up, setting it down. This has been pretty much consistent. And I'm not going to have a real perfectly round hat because this is an old hobo, hillbilly looking hat that someone took from the house to put on St. Nick's head. St. Nick, or not St. Nick, snowman. What is it? Jack Frost. Frosty the snowman. I never learned all these little nursery rhymes when I was a kid. We told them to my children when we started having children, but my wife had to teach them all to me. For some reason, I never learned them. And when I'm making a Santa, I try to think about, oh, he touched his nose in that one. So Mitch Cartley has a Santa where he touches his nose that I've carved. Real good one. Gary Phelan has another one that, you know, well, there's a bunch of them out there that take these stories and nursery rhymes and songs and they make carvings to them. And those are kind of fun. I just named a couple great carvers there that Mitch is still very active. I don't know if Gary is or not. I know Gary had slowed down a little bit last I heard. But you can find their work online too. And they're traveling instructors. They go and teach classes all around the world. Well, I don't know about all around the world, but at least all around the U.S. Good instructors, good carvers. Much better than I. Okay, look at that. I can take this brim down a little bit more and give me more face. All I'm doing is rounding this, little chips out at a time. And I want to get up and under that brim a little more. That's going to buy me another 1/4 of an inch of face. I think that's all I need. I'm going to do my little sweep cut. Just roll in that hat. Making those little zuzu petals, as they say on It's a Wonderful Life. And I'm going to go ahead and pop him out. Oh, I'm liking the way he's looking. Okay. Now I got to figure out what I want to do with this scarf. How is that scarf going to wrap around? Okay, we're going to separate the scarf. We're going to have one of these scarves coming over like this. And we're going to have the other one look like it's coming up out from under this back side. So this will wrap around like that, go under there, come out around here. And then this scarf will come out from that underside of that. And this scarf is coming over top. So this scarf's going to come over top. This scarf right here is coming from the underside. And this scarf's coming from the top side. So let me try to get that done for you. First, I want the stop cut of the highest scarf. So I'm going to go right along the edge of that highest scarf, and I'm going to cut my stop cut. And then I'm going to turn it over and do a V cut down into that. Takes that right out. And then I want to bring this underneath that, where this other leg of that scarf looks like it's coming out from underneath. So I'm going to bring this down some. About there. Like that. Here we go. That's starting to look like something. Yeah. And then it actually needs to come like this, just a skosh. So I'm going to come down, do my little triangle cut there, and pop that out. Now it looks like it's gone over here, and it should look like it's coming out from right here. So I'm doing a little stop cut, cut up into that. And I want this one to be high, so the high one, I'm going to come over here, do a stop cut there, and come into that. And now I've got my scarf looking like optical illusion. It's tied. I like that. Got a little bit of cleanup to do and a little bit of detail work, and then we're ready to paint. But we're going to call this guy done. And in the next video, I'll show you how I'm doing his nose, his eyes, his arms, and painting. There he is. Hopefully you like it. I'll get that next video up shortly, and you'll be able to join me in finishing this guy. Do a little cleanup, and we'll see you in a little bit on the paint and the finish detail of the Jack Frost.